And in high school, I wasn't in any specific stream. I wasn't in any special stream. I was just in like the regular high school stream.
Okay, awesome. Moving on to, I think, you can go next.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thank you. My name is Om. I went to Woodland Secondary School for high school in Mississauga, and I was a part of the gifted program. And I just graduated from Western University with a degree in integrated sciences with a specialization in biology. So integrated sciences, as you may believe, is an interdisciplinary program that sort of likes to combine scientific ideas from different disciplines. So physics, math, computer science, biology, like I did myself. And it allows you to earn a degree in either one of the sciences while talking to and sharing ideas and solving problems with people from those other sciences. So it's a bit of an involved program that keeps you in a small cohort and it allows you to sort of understand more scientific ideas. Um, when I was coming out of high school, I wasn't really sure what kind of sciences were most interesting, but I knew I liked science. And so I began by looking at what programs would kind of let me explore sciences, and integrated sciences came up. And ultimately, I landed on biology, which, you know, I kind of felt was my favorite one all along. But it was a good opportunity to sort of explore what else was out there and see how different perspectives actually can affect your work. In terms of where I see myself working in 5 years, throughout my university career, I was very involved with my student newspaper, and so I've sort of shifted my career goals into journalism, and I'm currently searching for opportunities in that field.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Kill, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Akil. I was in the engineering science program at U of T. I was majoring in aerospace engineering. Reason I say was just like graduated this past April. So why did I choose aerospace engineering? So I knew I wanted to do something in space back in high school, and really the two main routes are going through astrophysics or aerospace engineering. And the thing with physics is you usually have to stick in academia, and that means you have to get a PhD. And at that time, I wasn't ready to commit so long to school. So I ended up going to aerospace engineering, and the engineering science program at U of T has that as an option. So that's how I ended up there. Where do I see myself in 5 years? I'd like to be working. So I'll be starting grad school in the fall, hopefully only doing a master's and I don't end up doing a PhD. If I do that, I'll still be in school in 5 years, but I do hope I see myself working in 5 years, hopefully in aerospace, working on rockets and things like that. And in high school, I went to John Fraser and it's a bit of a long story. So in grade nine, I was part of the general program. I moved from California in grade eight, and I hadn't done any of the entrance exams for any of these programs. But after a year of school, I was able to transition into the AP program starting in grade 10, and I did that for the rest of high school.
Awesome. Thank you. Annika, would you like to go next?
Hi, my name is Anika. I went to John Fraser in the AP program in Mississauga, like Akil. I am currently in med school at McMaster University, but for my undergrad, I did life sciences with a specialization in biochemistry and research, also at McMaster University. I ended up choosing life sciences over other programs because I liked the idea that you could specialize in whatever you wanted to do. So it was pretty broad after first year, choosing your specialization, and there was a variety of different things at McMaster that I enjoyed. And I ended up choosing biochemistry because I liked the research aspect of it. Um, in 5 years, since I'm in med school right now, hopefully I'm in my residency working as a physician. I'm not too sure what I want to do yet, but I plan to stay in Ontario and work in a hospital in Ontario.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Just a side note, right now we are recording, so just so you're aware of that, I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, let's get right into it. So before we hear from the panelists, I do have a slideshow, a really quick slideshow that I'm going to take you guys through, just because we had a lot of questions and there was a couple of questions in common, so I just thought I would make a slideshow to start off. Let's get into it. So the first question we got was, what's the difference between the Indian education system and the Canadian, like the admission to university? So इंडियामध्ये बेसिकली 1ली ते 10वी हे शाळा समजतात, 11वी 12वी हे ज्युनियर कॉलेज समजतात आणि मग 12वी नंतर युनिव्हर्सिटीला जातात जनरली, लाईक CBSE किंवा SSC बोर्ड, ICSE पण कधी कधी. आणि कॅनडामध्ये 1ली ते 5वी ही एलिमेंटरी स्कूल धरली जाते, मग 6वी ते 8वी ही मिडल स्कूल असते आणि 9वी ते 12वीचा पूर्ण चंक याला हायस्कूल म्हणतात. मग हायस्कूल नंतर युनिव्हर्सिटीला जातात आणि ती सगळी ॲप्लिकेशन प्रोसेस 12वीत होते, 12वीच्या पहिल्या सेमेस्टरमध्ये. So from grades 9 to 12, so now we're going on to what high school is and how it works, because we had a lot of questions on that as well. From grades 9 to 12, you take 8 courses every year. So you take 32 courses over the course of your high school career. Some courses are required for high school graduation. Most of these you will take in grade 9 or grade 10. So like history or geography or things like that. And most courses in grade 11 or 12, though, you will pick depending on the program you want to pursue. This is for general stream. AP किंवा IB मध्ये थोडे electives वेगळे असतील, पण जनरल सिस्टम जसं आता तुम्ही बघाल पुढच्या स्लाइड शो मध्ये 12वीची ॲप्लिकेशनची सिस्टम AP IB सगळ्यांना कॉमन असते. So every university or college program has different required high school courses, and then depending on the career that you want to pursue, the courses you need to take differ. So how do you figure out what courses you need for your uni program that you want to pursue? To do that, you can type in the name of your university, followed by the name of your program, the program that you want to pursue, followed by admission requirements. For example, if I wanted to pursue University of Waterloo Computer Engineering, I would literally type in University of Waterloo Computer Engineering admission requirements. You'll see on the right over here, this is what should pop up in your browser. And this is the page that it should take you to. If you just scroll down on that page, you should find that for all Ontario students, these are all of the courses you need to take in high school, as well as I think there is an admission averages section as well that you can explore on the website that tells you what a competitive grade would be like, or a competitive score would be like in that course as well. Now, you begin applying for these programs in the first semester of your grade 12. So at least this year, applications open sometime in December, and the last date for the 2024-2025 cycle was January 15th, 2025. Now, all applications for Ontario students take place through OAC, which is the Ontario University Application Center. On the OAC, you'll fill in your basic demographic information as well as which program you want to pursue, and then rank the programs according to your preference. So let's say, I don't know, UFT NSI was my first pick, that I would rank that as 1, then go on to Waterloo as 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. For some universities, submitting through the OAC is the only thing that they require, and that's it. And then you just wait. For other universities, though, those unis email you with a link to that specific university's application portal. So for example, on the right, you'll see this is what I got from McMaster, who asked me to complete a supplementary application for, so I was applying for engineering, but that is what you will see with some unis. And generally, the more competitive unis will also have this supplementary component as well in recent years, especially. Then after that, you wait. The decisions are usually released in multiple rounds, and the rounds go till the first week of May. But yeah, that is a very, very quick primer on how Canadian applications work. And without further ado, let's go to the uni panel. So, oh, here. So Sonika has joined us right now. Sonika, would you just like to give a little quick introduction about yourself? Sonika is also one of our panelists for today.
Hi, I'm Sanika. I'm currently going into second year at Western University. I'm in my undergrad. I'm doing an honor specialization in psychology and a minor in medical cell biology. And in next 5 years, I hope to see myself in med school and then later on just go to US and start working there.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanika. Okay, we're getting started with our uni panel now. So the first question we got was, and just so I'm making this just for the audience here, I'll ask a couple of panelists to address each question just because we don't have time for everyone to answer every question. But we will have a couple of different people answering each question so you get a bunch of different perspectives. तर पहिला प्रश्न अखिल आणि ऋग्वेदा घेऊ शकतात. What extracurriculars or volunteering experiences did you have in high school?
Do you want to go first, Rugveda?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. So in high school, I had a wide range of extracurriculars. I volunteered for Marathi school in grade 9 as a teaching assistant. And throughout my high school career, I was in many sports teams like flag football, volleyball, soccer. In grade 12, I was the volleyball manager for the team. I was also president of the drama club in grade 11, and I joined the Women in Engineering Club in grade 12 as just a general member. And the reason why I decided to have such a wide range of extracurriculars was really because I wanted to learn as many transferable and technical skills as I could. Because high school is really this great opportunity to just join as many clubs as you can and whatever piques your interest because you learn in university, especially in very like academically challenging programs like engineering, you might not get as much time to like maybe join sports teams or join whatever other interests like out there clubs you would want to join. So I took that opportunity in high school to just really broaden my scope. And you'll find that this really helps you when you're building your resume or you're building your supplementary application, because I know, especially for competitive universities, they're not just looking for, okay, like, what do you know? Like, if you're, for example, if you're applying for computer engineering, they're not just looking for, you know how to code or you know how to work a computer. Like, they're also looking for your transferable skills. So you might not think that joining such a wide range of clubs will help you, but it does end up helping you just improve those resumes and really improve your transferable skills.
Thank you so much, Akhil.
Yeah, so I thought she brought up some good points. I guess in terms of my experiences, I worked at Kumon for a couple of years, and Nico was there for a bit as well. In terms of volunteering, I volunteered at a retirement home in grade 11 and 12, so that was a good experience. At school, in terms of athletics, I was pretty heavily involved in cross country all 3 years, and then, or all 4 years, and then mixed in there, I did track a year. There was a triathlon club at Fraser and then badminton as well for a year. So I tried a couple athletics things out and that was pretty fun. And then in terms of clubs, I was in DECA all 4 years. And then Model UN, just I wanted to try about a bunch of different things out. And I think high school is a good time to try things out and find out what you like. So did Model UN. There was a math and science senior scholars program at our high school. I like that as well. And then chess club and other things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Akhil. We will be hearing from Akhil right for the next question as well, because it is U of T specific. A lot of people asked, how did you approach your supplementary application for U of T, if you had that when you applied?
Sure. So if I recall correctly, there's a couple short answer, like 250-word responses, and then I think at least for U of T engineering, what's a little different is they have a challenge question, kind of like a brain teaser. So essay questions, I don't know if I have that much original input to give. I'm not the best writer, but spend a little bit of time. And the best thing is don't spend too much time on it, but start early, get friends and family to review it and incorporate their feedback, because it's easy for you to write something and it makes sense in your head. But when someone else reads it, it might not make sense to them. So try and get feedback, which usually involves starting early. Then I think the unique part was that challenge question. So if you're not familiar, and I don't know if U of T still does this, there's, I think so you log into a portal, they give you like a brain teaser, and you just gotta talk about it for 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm trying to think what mine was. I think it's try and estimate the number of gas stations in a town, and essentially you're working through your thought process and talking about what information you need to be able to come up with that answer. So, for example, I might say, I want to figure out how many gas station companies there are, because even if you have X number of people in a city, if there's 5 companies, you see it around here at home, you'll see 2 gas stations right next to each other. And that's usually a function of how many companies there are. You'd want to find out how big the city is, how many people there are, that kind of stuff. So it'll be a very random question. Nothing you can really prepare for, just be confident when you answer, talk through your thought process. And I think this is important for interviews in general. Even if you don't get the right answer, making clear how you're thinking, what's going through your mind, that's pretty important. And just communicate calmly, clearly, be confident, and don't get stressed.
Yes. Okay. Just a reminder, please make sure to keep your mics off because it might disturb the panelists when they're answering. Just a quick reminder. But yeah, thank you, Akil. The next question that we have is actually for Anika, sorry. And it is, in your opinion, so just for context, Anika also did apply to business programs. And in your opinion, which program in university should prospective business students look at and why?
Yeah, of course. So like Maitri said, I also applied to business programs when I was applying to undergrad. I applied to Laurier, applied to Western, BMOS with Ivy, as well as York Business and International Business. I felt that those programs were pretty helpful, especially in terms of what you're interested in business. So there's specific universities that might give you more opportunities in consulting versus working in a larger tech company. So if you're interested in business, the first thing I would do is really look at what opportunities for co-op a specific university might be able to give you. The other thing I was kind of looking for is what I could potentially specialize in or make kind of my priority when looking at business. So I was mostly interested in finance. And because of that, I chose Laurier because Laurier has a pretty decent accounting program. And then I also chose Western Ivy because Western provides a lot of opportunities to do co-op or summer internships at financial consulting firms.
Awesome. Thank you, Anika. The next question that we have is, what expenses are covered under OSAP? Do we provide a breakup of costs of books, rent, travel, etc.? We can start with Sanika and then maybe Akil.
Yeah, sure. So OSAP usually helps students cover the key cost of undergrad education, like tuition, any mandatory fees, books, supplies, living expenses like rent and food, and also travel in case you guys need to commute. When you apply, you don't need to provide like a detailed breakdown of these expenses. OSAP usually asks for your university and the program, and then they use like the standard estimates based on your program, school, then living situation, if you have any siblings going in university or in high school, or any financial information like your parents' income if required. And then they calculate how much aid you're eligible for. And OSAP doesn't usually ask for like itemized costs like the price of each book for how I rent is, but it's still like what I do is that I just track down my own spending to like use the funds they gave me properly.
Awesome. Thank you, Sanika. Akil.
Yeah, just a little bit to add. So the actual application, as Sanika said, it doesn't ask for a detailed breakdown. I think it mostly asks for info off your parents' T1, so that's their tax documents. So in terms of like how much do your parents make, do they have other kids in university? You have to talk a bit about your own personal finances. So if you're making money while in university, you have to give that, how much is in your bank account. I guess that's sort of honor system. And then I think one other key determination in terms of how much money you get is how close you are to university. So I think if you're within 50 kilometers, they'll give you a little less because they expect that you're going to be staying at home. So you don't have your own living expenses. But if you're outside of 50 kilometers, then they give you a little bit more. And in terms of how the money is distributed, it's either a loan or a grant. So a loan it's interest free while you're in school, and then you pay it back once you're out of school. And then the grant is just free money that you get to keep. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. The next question is, from second year, is it cost effective to move out of dorm and get a house in sharing? So we can start with maybe Om and then Sanika and Inika.
Yeah, sure. So it's definitely like cost effective, but I think this depends on which university you end up going to. It's going to be different if you're, in St. Catharines for Brock or if you're in Toronto for U of T. Um, it really does depend. The rental market is different and it changes. When I was in London, people were starting to look for rental places very early in the year, like November for the next year, September. I would say that's a little bit early, but it is definitely cost effective. I think there is a trade-off. You are, spending time sharing a space with people who you may or may not know. If you do know them, it could be a great experience. If you don't know them, you're rolling the dice. But sometimes it works out. It's part of the fun of life, I think. And maybe you get to make a new friend. If you are choosing to share with someone that you do know, I would highly recommend that you learn a little bit about them, visit their place, see what they're like kind of if you're friends with them, obviously, see what their living situation is like. Um, you don't want to be walking into something that can become an awkward situation between you and a friend. I would also say that you have to kind of balance that cost between how much does transportation cost? Is it worth it to live in McMaster or nearby, or is it worth it to commute from home? That's a kind of a decision that you might have to make yourself.
Okay, so just to add on to what Om said, it's like it is definitely very cheaper moving outside in second year as compared to living in residence. It depends on university. What my Western does is that they increase the residence prices each year by like $100, so that's definitely more. And a lot of their residences do have a mandatory meal plan, so that also increases your overall residence cost. However, it is like very important to consider one thing is that when you're moving outside in like second year, most of the houses or like apartments have a 12-month lease, not a 8-month one. So it is like living in London, there are not many students there because it is mostly half of it is just Western University. So during summer, it is very hard to find a sublease, especially if you're in like first year, second year, because you don't have too many resources living in that place. And for some houses they don't provide furniture or the utilities is not really included in the rent, so that's also one thing you need to consider. But there are also most houses which already have furniture included, they already have like utilities included in the rent, and the landlord also helps with like snow shoveling and everything. And well, from like my point, like most of the universities, what I know is that they do offer free transportation, so that shouldn't also be a big problem. But it is definitely cheaper to move outside than just live on res.
So I can only really speak from the perspective of McMaster, but at McMaster, there isn't really too much of an option for second years to live in the dorms just because there's so many students and there's frankly not enough dorms. The only way you can as a post first year undergrad is if you apply to be a CA or an RA, which basically just means you're a second year plus who kind of manages all the first years that live in your dorm, and that comes with its own responsibilities. Usually your cost of living is covered, but you have to do other things like nightly checks, kind of providing some sort of counseling for students when they need it. So it's a bit of a commitment. Moving out of the dorms and to the local houses in McMaster, it comes with its own expenses. When I rented in my undergrad and second year, it was a lot cheaper than it is now. And with McMaster, your only options nearby are really older student houses. And like Om said, you kind of have to manage who you're living with and see if that works out for you because getting a roommate that's messy or not respectful of your time can really make a living situation quite difficult. In terms of subleasing around McMaster, since there's so many graduate programs and summer schools that kind of run throughout the year in the summer, subleasing is a little bit easier. Also, since there's not as many options to live outside otherwise in Hamilton, subleasing is quite easy even with a 12-month lease.
Awesome. Thank you guys. The next question that we have is, what did you take as your elective courses in uni and personalizing the program to yourself? We can hear from maybe Om and then Rigveda.
Yeah, sure. So, like I said in the beginning, I did do sort of a more involved program. So I did biology courses and I did some integrated science courses. So that didn't leave too much room for other courses like electives. Um, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking that like it's probably best to pick the safe courses, and I definitely did do that for like 2 years. Um, which courses which, I know that I can probably do well at, like a psychology course that was online only, and which I had already studied for when I took an AP Psych exam. So, there are courses out there which will be really suited to you and who you are, but at the same time, you can take some risks, depending on, what your graduation requirements are. Always make sure that you have those completed and that you're on track to finishing. But if you want to try a different course or see something new, you can do that. Sometimes universities have different programs. For example, Western has a like discovery credit sort of program where if you start to take a course from a different department, it's your first course in that department, then you can often call it a discovery credit and then it becomes pass fail. So it doesn't necessarily show up as a grade that's, maybe lower than you wanted to on your resume, not your resume, on your transcript. So people who are looking at it in like grad schools or like med schools will not take that into account when making their sort of calculations. I would also say that like you should choose the courses that you find interesting. Like in my fourth year, I took a full year course on Indigenous Studies, which I found very interesting. Thankfully, it was also a first year course, so it was pretty simple and relatively introductory, so it was not too hard to do well. But I would say that like sort of branching out beyond what you can find in your program can also make you a different applicant. You can talk about that for different things that you're applying for, like drawing on your different experiences from these courses. If you don't like, not everyone works through university, so you might have opportunities to sort of bring up these unique courses in chats with employers or other people. I would say make the most of your degree, and trust in yourself to earn those grades.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak very much from like a McMaster engineering standpoint because for engineering we don't really have that much leeway to take electives. I think it's only required to take 2 electives throughout the entire program. And because I only just completed my second year, I still haven't had room to take many electives. But in first year, I took 2 electives, one for each semester. So first semester I took anthropology and second semester I took communications. Um, and for first year engineering at McMaster, it's general. So that means everyone, like all the engineers, they're all taking the same courses. Like there's not specific streams because in second year, like or when you're going to second year, that's when you choose your streams. And there's this thing called free choice at McMaster, and that's basically if your high school GPA meets the requirement for free choice, then you will get to choose whatever stream you want to for engineering in your second year, regardless of your university GPA. So I know during my year it was a 96, and my year was 96, but I think for this year they raised it to 97. So that means and your high school GPA has to be on the dot. They don't round up. So if if you don't happen to get free choice, which is don't worry about that. I didn't have free choice. But if you don't get free choice, that basically just means they're going to use your first year GPA to decide what stream you go into second year. So what a lot of people do is because engineering is a very academically challenging program. Like I know like in high school, it's very it might be more simpler to get better grades and like STEM courses, but in university, it'll definitely be way more difficult. So you want to take courses that will lighten your workload that maybe you have fun doing or will like act as GPA boosters. Because the last thing you want for the last thing you want is not to get into a stream, like to not get the stream that you want for your second year because you took an elective that was more challenging than the courses, like your mandatory courses. So I would just recommend taking courses. Obviously, don't take like a course that will just boost your GPA, but you absolutely hate. Like make sure you have a balance between both, but you want to make sure you're staying realistic for the university's engineering standards, but as well as like make sure you're not like breaking your back over trying to meet the GPA requirements. Like take something you like. And also you have to watch out for anti-requisites because there are some, because I remember I was very interested in like astronomy and space going into university. So I was like, I would love to take like an intro to astrophysics as an elective. But then I saw that it was an anti-requisite for engineers, so I couldn't take that. It should just be like if you search up the course and McMaster University, like whatever course you're looking at, or like the program you're in. So like if you're going to engineering, like engineering McMaster University, there should be a drop down to see what electives you can take. So I would just recommend going through that and then on the website just seeing the synopsises, seeing like the descriptions of the courses, seeing what you like, seeing what will boost your GPA. Yeah, that's just good luck with that.
Thank you so much. That was some great insights. So before we open up to audience questions, the last question that we have is, if you could go back to high school, what would you start doing differently to prepare for the top unis now? And this is for all the panelists. So we can go in order, or someone can start.
I can start us off. Um, Learn to plan ahead is, I think, the greatest piece of advice. Not just in school, because to be honest, like if you find that the schoolwork is easy because you've been working so hard throughout high school, then it'll probably just come to you. But if you're finding that it's difficult, you have to learn to plan ahead. And it's not just for schoolwork, like I said. If you're looking for a summer job, you have to plan ahead. If you're looking for what you're going to do next year, what those course requirements are, you have to plan ahead. If you're looking for scholarships for university and you're not in, if you're going to grade 12 now, you should either start looking, or if you're not even there, you should still start looking. All those things are really important to start early. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to like have everything done early. It just means that you should know how much work is behind each of those things. You definitely do not want to be sitting, at your desk and realizing that there's a deadline that you cannot make. And that could be for a job application, it could be for an internship application, it could be for an assignment, or you could realize that you have a, test. So plan ahead, however that works. Use a calendar, use an organizer. I think it's the most important thing. I definitely did not do that in high school. I kind of put things off to the last second, which is fine. I found that it works kind of well, but it starts to degrade the more and more responsibilities that you have. And in university, you pick up a lot of responsibility. And so you have to be on top of your own things.
I can go next. So I think if I could go back to high school and prep a little differently, I think I'd want to narrow down my choices a little bit more for what I wanted to do in undergrad. Like I kind of talked about before, I applied to both science and business programs, which ended up working out for me. But if I had been able to narrow down my choices, I would have saved a lot of time with applications and I could have put a little bit more effort and focus into the applications that I really wanted to do, because some of the um, supplemental applications for some science programs like McMaster Health Sci do take quite a bit of time, and I don't think I was able to spend as much time as I would have liked on them. And I probably could have done this by picking electives in high school that I enjoyed a little bit more, rather than picking electives that met all the requirements for business and science programs. So I definitely think deciding kind of what you want to do a little bit earlier, like science or business, and then taking some fun electives in that would really help narrow down your choices.
Okay, I can go next. If I could go back to high school, I would start making a portfolio. I did not realize how helpful a portfolio would be for just everything like supplementary applications for university, resumes, or interviews. Because I started making my portfolio in first year university, and it was just for like our general engineering course, like our final projects, we had to make a portfolio. And I remember like when I was doing the portfolio, I thought it was really tedious because I didn't have work experience. I just had to put my school projects in there. And I remember at the time thinking like it's a very tedious task. Like I don't know why I have to write down my transferable skills. I know my transferable skills, but really having that visual and having it all written down makes it so much easier, not only just like when you're making supplementary applications or resumes, it's also just so helpful knowing like what your career goals are and how like if you're on the path to your career goal. Because I know like you might end up changing your mind throughout high school or throughout university. It's like funny, Akil mentioned that like he was interested in like astrophysics and astronomy because I went through the exact same process. I was very interested in astronomy. I was thinking either astrophysics or aerospace. And I was like, okay, U of T Eng like has an aerospace program. Then I completely changed my mind and I was like, I want to do McMaster engineering. And now I'm in civil. And just having that portfolio there help me like it was like, okay, am I still on the right track or do I want to change up my goals? Yeah, it's just like again, you don't have to add like a whole lot to your portfolio right now. It's not going to be as grand as like it would like when you fully made your career. Like right now it might just be school projects, maybe some volunteer work, but just having that like starting that right now and then getting to build that up as you progress through your academic and career path, you'll just find that's going to be so helpful throughout like any sort of like application interviewing process.
I can go next. So, if I could go back to high school, I would definitely focus more on truly understanding subjects like bio, chemistry, and physics rather than just studying for the next test or the final exam, because that deeper understanding is so important in university. Like, I remember struggling on like understanding general topics and stuff that I did do back in high school, but that was because I just studied for the next test rather than just truly understanding the surface of the subjects. On top of that, like Om said, I would definitely start researching university programs and scholarships earlier on, mainly because I applied to so many different universities because I didn't know which university was good for my program. And it was just a huge waste of money. And one more thing is that I would start working on developing good study habits and time management skill because those make a huge difference in like your transition to university life.
For mine, looking back, I don't personally like to have any regrets looking back, but I do have some thoughts just on high school. So I want to talk about the AP program a little bit. So there's two different ways to look at it. One is in terms of just getting accepted somewhere and also being ready to go there. So I think AP is useful in terms of getting ready to go somewhere because you do take a couple classes that are a little bit more challenging, and that helps prepare you for university because first year university is quite a large step up from grade 12 and grade 11. But at least in terms of how the AP program is set up at the regional programs here in Canada, you write most of your AP exams in grade 12, which is too late for like writing on your application, so it's not going to help you there. You take classes that are a little bit harder, so you might not do as well in terms of raw grades. And unlike IB, you don't get rounded up or anything. So in that sense, it's not super useful in terms of, you know, maximizing your average so you can get into X, Y, or Z program. But I do think it's useful in terms of preparing you for university because you know, you might get into a really good program and just have really high grades, but you might not be ready for it. Just other thoughts. I think it's good to have breadth in university and in high school, and I think I talked a bit about that earlier. Though I do think it would be nice to focus on some particular fields of interest in grade 11 and 12 and really do those to a higher level and find a passion in that. And also looking at what a lot of my friends have done in high school. I know I'm always super impressed hearing what they did in high school. A lot of my friends in engineering specifically have done a lot of really cool projects. So I know people who built like little drones in high school just on their own time, just out of fun, not just I want to do this project so my resume looks better, just out of fun. I have a friend who built like a little rocket engine and it's just super, super sick to hear about. And I think finding something you like to do, which also has a side benefit of improving your application, that's a win-win.
Thank you so much to all of you guys for your insights. I wish I had someone to tell me this when I was starting, but I'm sure it will be helpful for everyone that is listening to this. We do have a couple extra minutes, so I'm going to head to the chat and start answering the questions in the order that they were sent, just so that it's fair. Pahila prashna ahe ki, I heard that you can also do high school courses in summer. How does that process work, and does it really help? Do you recommend it? So, it's open to whoever wants to speak.
Okay, so I can answer that question. Actually, I don't know if I'm the best to answer this question because I actually didn't take any summer courses throughout school. I just wanted my summer break to myself. But even for like engineering programs, I know that like when I was applying to like Waterloo and UFT, I think Waterloo specifically, they had a separate portion that you had to like explain why you took summer courses. And I know like I remember reading up about it and apparently like Waterloo, they need you to explain why you're taking summer courses. And I'm not sure if it negatively impacts your application. I don't think it will, but like for example, you can't just say like, oh, I wanted to take a summer course because I wanted a lighter load for grade 11. Like they might be looking for like, oh, I took a summer course, I don't know, just to improve my time management skills, something like that. Um, but like when I was applying to McMaster, they didn't have any sort of like separate application that asks like why are you taking a summer course, so just look out for that. Some universities, so like just look into your program and see like if the program or like the university you're applying to cares if you're taking summer courses. For the most part it shouldn't affect it. Like I didn't take any summer courses, I got into McMaster no problem. I know a friend who like religiously took summer courses and she also got into McMaster no problem. So again, just look into like which like your specific university and program and see what their requirements are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Rigveda. The next question that we have is for Akil. So someone is interested in aerospace. They're asking if there is a specialized degree in U of T or if it's a major stream. Is there any guidance in the things to look out to iterate towards would be appreciated.
Yeah, I can comment on this. So in Canada, there aren't that many like dedicated aerospace programs. So I think Ryerson has one, McGill might have one. U of T offers it through the EngSci program. So the way EngSci works at U of T is you have a sort of general 2 years where you just learn a lot of everything and get a lot of breadth, but maybe don't go as far in depth. Then you major in third year and you're free to major in whatever you want. There's no, you need X percentage or Y GPA to get into your program. So you have free reign and free choice. And you can also change your mind in those first 2 years. So yeah, U of T offers it through the EngSci program only. There's no direct like special aerospace engineering program. So my degree is going to say Bachelor of Applied Science in Engineering Science with a major in aerospace engineering. And that's the only option if you want to do aero at U of T.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Akil. पुढचा प्रश्न अनिकासाठी आहे. So, what is recommended for a Mississauga resident student when going to McMaster? So, should they stay in Hamilton, or should they commute from Mississauga?
So I stayed in Hamilton second year, but then third year at the beginning of the year, I did try commuting. I would say it's pretty tricky because there's so many commuters that the buses are often full, and then sometimes you'll miss a bus and then you'll get home at like 10 p.m. So in my personal opinion, I would stay in Hamilton. Um, I ended up like subleasing a house and then staying in Hamilton for the rest of my third year just because the hours were not realistic for me. And I think in terms of just student life and getting to know people and making friends, staying around campus is a lot more helpful. Because when you commute, you kind of go home and then you don't have time to do some of the other stuff that kind of happens on campus later, like club meetings or even some of the events that Mac has started on campus. So my personal opinion, I would definitely stay, even though Mississauga seems kind of close, the commuting does add up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anika. The next question is, so if any of you guys took a grade 11 course in grade 10, would that subject taken in grade 11 taken in grade 10 still count for admissions?
I can answer that because I did take a grade 11 course in grade 10, and it does matter because they do count it in your overall, like your GPA and everything, because mainly because it has the code where it says that it's like a U course. So that does make it count for universities.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanika. The next question is for med students. So there is a pre-med program for 1 year which earns 90 credits, including MCAT passing with 480 marks, and then pursuing 16 months of med school in the Caribbean islands, and then 2 or 3 years clinical rotation or study in the US, and then practicing in the US. Are any of you guys able to speak on that, or?
I can probably speak on that. So I am aware of the course that you're talking about. It's specifically for the Caribbean universities. The one thing I would be careful with is, like it says, you earn 90 credits. For some Caribbean universities, you don't have to write the MCAT. For others, you do. For Canadian schools, you definitely do. And a 480 is quite low. You wouldn't get into med school with a 480 on the MCAT for Canadian universities. I'm not too sure about American universities. With Caribbean schools, you do have the option of doing your clerkship or clinical placement in America. And then after that, it's important to remember that once you get into med school, you still have to apply for residency. In America and Canada, that's through like a CARMS application where you would interview at different med schools, and then looking at your clinical experience, they would decide if you're a good fit for the program. With Caribbean schools, it's a lot easier to get into America than it is in Canada, but residency programs prefer if you have done a undergrad med school pathway, because that's the traditional pathway in North America, and that's the pathway that they trust. So when you're applying for residency, you won't have as much clinical experience as someone who's done a 4 year or 3 year med school here and their entire clerkship. On top of that, you won't have some of the other opportunities of working within the environment that they prefer for medical students. Another thing is that I would make sure that this course is actually legit and recognized by hospitals and academic institutions in America when you apply. Because I know for Canada, Caribbean universities are recognized, but a 1 year pre-med course and then going into clerkship would not be recognized.
Thank you so much, Anika. Those were some really nice insights. The next question is whether you would recommend IB high school or normal high school. मला वाटतं अखिलने याच्याबद्दल तो आता थोडा बोलला होता की preparation for uni versus doing well, like doing it to get in versus doing well in uni. So हा video like हे recording post होईल MBMच्या socials वर, so you can go back and refer to that as well. Another question we got, Anika, again, you'll be speaking to this. Someone got into Mac Health Sci. Congratulations! And we'll be selecting their first year electives in a few days. Any recommended courses that they should take to prepare for the MCAT?
So from my understanding for health sci, you have like a set of like inquiry courses that you take. I didn't I didn't go to Mac Health Sci, so I'm not too sure. But for med school, you do need to take like organic chemistry and some biologies, and those courses are reserved for students that are in specialties like biochem or bio. But if you can get into those courses, I would highly recommend it because they definitely helped me when I was studying for the MCAT, specifically some of the biochem electives, because you won't learn that in a health sci course or even like a traditional bio or chem course.
Thank you so much. I think we have a question from Ashish. You can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, that's me. The Ashutosh. The question I just asked, the latest question was mine, right? So these the courses that you talked about, the bio and chem, they're like mandatory for me, so I have to take them. I was asking about like the electives, like the ones that I don't have to do, but I probably should do. Like should I take like math for life science on the side or like psychology, like which we're preparing for math, sorry.
Right. So from my understanding, the health sci chem that you take has Orgo, but it's not a lot of Orgo. There are two Orgo courses in second year, Orgo 1 and 2, that are far more detailed. You don't have to take them, but I would highly recommend it if you're writing the MCAT, especially Orgo 2, because you cover a lot of synthesis and carbohydrate synthesis, and some of that is on the MCAT. So even if you can't take it as a core course, I would recommend taking it as an elective. In terms of first year for math for life sciences and psych, unless you're gonna really go to like a math heavy subject, I wouldn't say that it's entirely necessary for the MCAT. Physics would be a lot more helpful for the MCAT, physics 1 and 2, especially if you're applying to an American school, then you need an extra physics. And then I would also recommend taking in English because a couple med schools in Canada, like McGill and BC, and then med schools in America require English, like 2 English credits.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are reaching the end. We have just under 5 minutes left. So I'm just gonna ask any of the all of the panelists, sorry, to share any last thoughts that they have about anything really. Over to you guys.
I can start. I know we had like a couple questions about med school, and I know this is also like an undergrad university panel. So I would say like don't stress too much about like getting into med school and stuff. Like you guys are just going into undergrad, you have a long way to go. There's a lot of opportunity to take the courses that you need to take and get the experience that you have to take. And the MCAT is like way in the future, so just enjoy your undergrad experience and take some fun courses and don't stress out too much about applying and stuff.
फक्त एकच प्रश्न राहिलाय कदाचित अखिल साठी आहे हा अखिल can you shed some light on difference between engineering science and engineering program at U of T? Is in ENSCI more theory focused, and why did you choose ENSCI over aerospace engineering direct entry program? Chat मध्ये Akhil, can you speak on that?
Yeah, I think there was a similar question before. But yeah, MSci is more theory focused, and at U of T there's no direct aerospace program, so you have to go through MSci to do an aerospace engineering degree. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Continuing on to the final thoughts, if anyone wanted to go next.
So just going based off like what Anika said, like I would say again, I remember spending all of high school stressing about university, then first year stressing about the stream I'm going into. And it's just like, don't like, I know it's so easy to say don't spend so much time stressing. And I remember getting told that a lot as well when I was like in high school in first year, like don't stress so much. And I never took that to heart because like people would tell me like, oh, value like, the community, value like importance of also having a good academic life balance. And I didn't really take that to heart because I was like, why would I like it felt like I wasn't working as hard if I chose to prioritize my social life over academic life. But it truly is like it's truly like a thing that you'll learn once you are actually in the place that you want to be like don't undervalue the importance of like your social life as well. I know it's very it's a very good thing to want to be so academic and career focused, but also you learn from just building like your social life. It will help you not only like better yourself, but also if you're going into careers and stuff or academic life, it'll help you like um you'll just find that it's just so much more beneficial. Like I remember my first year in engineering, I was struggling so much, and I feel like the reason I was able to get through it was because of the math community and my friends. Like even just being able to like ask them for assignments, work together in libraries, like it just made the whole experience enjoyable. So yeah, just don't undervalue the importance of friendship.
I would also like to add, just going off of the same thought, one thing I did not consider when choosing a university was how nice the campus was or where it was located, and those kind of things. But when I went to Western, it was really nice walking onto a beautiful campus every single day, no matter the weather, no matter the season. It does actually improve your mood, and you kind of get used to like seeing the same sights, seeing the same people, even though it might be like, I think at Western there's like almost 40,000 people, like undergrad students. But there is a sense of like community and a sense of being there. So I would say like really take pride. It's not like American school, like football game kind of pride, but I would say like you should take pride in being a part of the community and like running into the people that you know and like joining clubs and getting to know people. You'd be surprised how many people there are who are willing to like talk, even just share a conversation, and then you can say hi every time you see them in the halls. And that makes the place feel more alive, and you feel more supported the more people you see and the more people you recognize because it's a familiar place and it no longer feels like this scary place that's, where you're going to sit down and do your work. It's this place where you want to go, where you want to do your work, and where you want to succeed at.
Yeah, I agree with what Om said, and I want to second and I guess third some of the thoughts before. I know easier, very much easier said than done, but try not to stress. I guess the logical way of looking at it is stress is counterproductive. One, you're going to be upset, which is no good. That's not how you want to live life. Two, it's counterproductive. The more you stress about grades, chances are it's actually you're going to do worse because the moment you face any small challenge in test or on some assignment, you're going to freak out and not do as well as you would with a clear mind. So try not to stress. University is a great time. I know it's cliche, but it's really true. Uni is some of the best 4 or 5 years of your life. You're going to make some of the best friends. I know a lot of the really good friends I've made, it's been, hopping on a call or in a library at 3 in the morning, grinding through some problem set or stressing for a midterm. But you make it to the other side and you'll be better for it. And you have a really good group of friends that you get to go into life with. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Can we also thank all of the panelists in the chat? Please show them some love. They are very, very generously agreed to do this panel for us and answer all of your questions. So thank you again, guys, for coming out. Thank you so much for giving us your time and all of your expertise and insights. We really, really appreciate it. And with that, our panel has come to an end. Thank you so much for coming out, everyone. We'll see you.